I will mostly be in my masculine. And then when I'm around our community, they help me slip into my feminine because they help me allow and they help me be present and they help me believe and they help me to just see that no matter what else happens with Almost 30, this is enough. Having one girl be impacted by a message that we shared or a guest shared is enough.
You're listening to the Almost 30 podcast, hosted by Krista Williams and Lindsay Simsick. Almost 30 started as a conversation about the transition from our 20s to our 30s. But then we realized life is full of transitions. So we expanded our mission.
We are an intuition-led, wellness-focused lifestyle podcast that promises to deliver authentic conversations, diverse points of view, and insights rooted in optimism, growth, and intention. The Almost 30 Nation community is a group of purposeful dreamers who are smart, passionate, and always seeking the full potential in every aspect of their lives.
At Almost 30, we're making magic together. We dream it,
and then we do it.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Almost 30 podcast.
Here we go.
Hi.
Oh, happy day.
I dropped guys. Hello, humans. Greetings, humans.
I don't know where we got that.
Guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
I think it's like, it's on TV. It's
a
like,
cultural thing for sure.
It's like a radio. Hey guys, welcome to 92.9. Like,
it's kind of patriarchy.
It's totally patriarchy. We are dropping it today.
That's insane if you really think about it. That we're all like, hey guys.
Someone said, what did they say?
Yeah, it would be weird if you said, hey girls.
Totally.
To everyone.
We should do that.
Let's do it.
We should, no matter who's in the
Hello,
room.
girls.
Hello, girls.
And they'll be like, what are girls? And be like, what? It's cool to say guys. It's cool to say, hey guys.
We should do.
I'm down.
We're done. Good night.
I'm down.
Someone the other day was like,
riot.
was saying, we were talking to a friend of ours, manifest, man.
Oh, yes.
Manifest.
I mean, the obvious one is history, his story.
Yeah.
I think that's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's a crazy one. Actually, we should look up like what do they call it? Like manisms?
Actually, on that note, Polly Claire of Unbound, they just launched a website called Approved Not Approved.
Oh.
And basically, look this up, everyone. This is exciting. So I'm just pulling it up. So it's basically to highlight the double standards that exist in advertising.
Wait, I love
which
that.
is really, really interesting. So go to approvednotapproved.com. And then you can also follow Polly_Claire. And she has some information there, but fascinating, the double standards.
Wow. She was on the podcast a bit ago. So you can look up Polly Claire, Almost 30 podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts and find that episode. It's approvednotapproved.com. Wow. Okay. I'm very much into this. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
And now we'll see it everywhere.
Hello, girls.
Hello, ladies.
And guys would be offended, but we've never been offended.
Never. And you know what we do say too, which is fine, but hey man, or dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey girl. Because it feels
patronizing,
corny to say, hey girl. To be like, hey, because when you're like, hey man, I feel more serious. I'm being honest.
I think hey man for me is like more funny.
Yeah, like making fun of someone.
It's kind of just like hey girl feels valid. Like it's like, hey girl.
Yeah, hey girl. Yeah, if you were like, hey girl. So I guess I'm saying it in a negative way, so I'm okay with it. Totally. Which doesn't even really make sense. But I was just actually scrolling FB because I was looking in our group, and I passed a post in Lacey's Manifestation Secret Society and said, hoping I can act. And there was a post from Jessica said, and I just happened to randomly see this. Hoping I can act as an expander for those in the corporate world. Following a major ping here as I was listening to Lacey's live interview with Almost 30. So good.
Oh,
cute. I'm glad that was a good
sweet.
expanding episode. It was super cute.
Yeah. I'm always, with all of our guests, but I mean, just recently in San Francisco with Lacey, I was just, There's always new things that come up for me.
Oh,
when I'm talking to her.
Bye-bye.
I was like, oh, wow.
I'm over it.
And
I've
I
had
just-
so many revelations in the past fucking week. It's like, I actually need to start writing them down.
Yeah.
They're crazy.
Writing down things is something that, I don't know, maybe it was a past life. I just didn't want, I'm like allergic to writing things down. And it's something that I kick myself about all the fucking time. Like journaling. I mean, the most jealous I get is when I know someone has journals for the past 13 years of their life. Oh shit. I'm like, oh my God, that would be so cool.
Justin is one of his business ventures is, I don't know if I can say it.
Yeah,
but-
I don't know if you should say it.
So it's basically related to that, fixing that need.
Yeah.
Within our lives is the fact that, and you would love to read something that your mom did. So say your mom had a way to track her evolution through life. It'd be really beautiful to watch that process, because it's weird for you to be like, Mom, what were you like when you're 13? You know, but because right now with the rise of the digital age, we do have the ability to kind of track that. So he's working on something like that.
That's so cool.
I know.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day too, I was like, whoa, how crazy is it that we live in the time when the internet was born?
Yeah, I agree.
The internet is like fire. It's like an invention that like changed everything.
Everything.
So it's it's weird. And I feel lucky, sort of. And I also feel scared. But that was a weird thing I thought of
No, I like it.
the other day.
Yeah. I mean, you know, hopefully continuing that conversation about, you know, digital
completely.
minimalism with a future podcast guest. Last night I did a sound bath and I took a nap, and I feel like a
New person. Good.
truly a new person.
Not good. I'm just saying.
Very
I'm
good.
glad you feel better.
I feel so much better. I'm like, wow. But I was thinking about it. It's interesting for us. And a lot of people deal with different type of work seasons. And for us, it's interesting because, a lot of our work has been happening on weekends. So usually we would have our work week, and then on weekends we could relax, and we've been working on weekends. So it's interesting that we're going to have to start shifting to like giving ourselves time during the week.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about why I've been feeling different than you in the sense, but kind of like same vibration. Like, I think because we know that August is going to be a time to really go inward, for lack of a better term. It's like the anticipation of that is getting me antsy in a good way. Like I'm looking forward to it, but it's almost like this like rushing train where I'm like,
I know I keep saying, I'm like, this is what you want. Because I'm looking at our calendar and our schedule, and it's different than ever. We're very strategic about our month of August, because this is our only time off, quote unquote, even though we're still doing tons of stuff. And I keep saying like, this is what you want. This is what you want. This is what you want. Because I feel like that happens all the time. Like, I don't know if people can relate when it's like you all week are like doing stuff and you're like, God, if I could only have a night home alone. And then you have a night home alone and you're like, fuck, I should be doing something.
I know.
You don't actually enjoy it.
I know. No, I've been feeling that, but I've been trying to get out of the routine. Cause if I'm a night home alone, sometimes I feel like because I'm in like the workspace that I'm like, I need to be doing something.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if I just go outside, like last night, my sweet neighbors had a little happy hour.
I saw that little
Freaking
poster.
what?
I saw it and I ripped it up and I said, losers.
Loser. It was amazing. I was so happy. I was
Said, I'm not going to that bullshit, you losers.
happy I was there. But even just going outside for like an hour
course.
with them, I was like, oh, I have permission to like be with people. Anyway,
What if you went out butt ass naked?
it
You're
is
like, hello.
cast of characters. I wouldn't be surprised if someone came out naked. But anyway, yeah, I totally feel you. And I want us to really enjoy the time, because fall and winter is going to be wet and wild.
Wet
people.
and wild. Also, it's like, this is when, you do what you love, quote unquote. You
Look for things that are.
You're like, I love this, so I'm working. You don't really know how to balance it, which has been interesting. So yeah, I'm hopeful that, I've been thinking lately about a quote, and it's be here now. And it's like, yesterday when I was like laying down to nap, I'm like, oh, I kind of should be, what errand should I be doing? And I'm like, no, like I would be, if I was doing an errand, I'd be like, God, I wish I could just take a fucking nap.
Yep.
And I did.
Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love is a quote that I live by.
I was in feels like you're sound healing, but yoga, I did yoga 2 days in a row and I feel so much better. I was weeping. This is not this is not a yoga class where you necessarily should be weeping. And I was just like, okay. Like I was trying to just sigh and exhale. And it was like, shit was coming out. I was like, oh, this is not the time. But it was so interesting. I was like, what the fuck is happening? But I mean, whatever. It felt like exhaustion. Good. Yeah, it was exhaustion. Yeah. I literally don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like the thing about it, what I've been noticing, and we just talked to your own as well about this and in an episode that's coming out, but the mind is like, my mind always tries to figure out what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? Where is this from? Is this from when you were 7? Or is this a blockage in your sacral chakra? Like, oh, don't have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm just like,
it's everything. And I always am like, what did you do to do this?
Yeah.
Like everything is me. Like, what did you do? What have you done to do this?
Yeah, totally. It's getting out of our minds. Being super present through the process. We just talked about this on the, we had a little segment on the Ignited podcast. They do like a special segment, Ignited Spark, on Mondays. We were talking about being present through the process. And I think that's something we're trying to
We have an episode on recovery with a D, Jaffe of Ignited. And then we have an episode with Sophie.
Yes.
So if you go back, I remember that was such a fun episode.
So fun.
If you go back in there. But yeah, they asked for what we were inspired to speak to. And I think this was something we kind of talked about when we were at our show in San Francisco, that as we've grown almost 30, we are constantly reminded through conversations with our peers and then our community about where we are in our process. And I'm present for my process every day. So my view of our process is different than someone from the outside is, because I see, the work that goes into it, but other people might just see the glimpses of it. And, I think now where we are, and if I compared myself to where I was 3 years ago, and even, looking back to high school or just myself throughout my life, and my goals always shift, my goals always change, and I'm never there. So trying my best to put myself wherever I am to be there. Like, this is it. This is what I've been working towards. This is what I have been learning. This is what I have been hoping for. Even if it's not the best situation, even if it fucking sucks, it's like, this is it. Like, this is a part of that evolutionary process of me to evolve to the person that I am there now. So I think it, in a kind of morbid way, if I were to die, this is it. I evolved to that place, and that was the end spot. So my comparative looking to myself 3 years ago would be very different than if I was to die when I was 100. I would be like, oh, wow, I was so far along when I was, 25 comparatively than if I'm 100 and I live all the way. So it all just changes. And it's so important that, no one is ever there. And that's a continuing conversation that we have with the women of our community going through transitions. And that's why we started this. That we're never at that place that we want to be, because your goals change, period.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much chatter and commentary on your life from other people. And so you really have to be, your own gatekeeper and, focus more on the cultivation of what's happening instead of the expectation of what's happening. So, my expectations are colored by my experience, my lack mentality, my just people I love around me who are like, so when are you going to do this? I thought you were going to do this. Or I know you love to do this. So what's happening with this? It's focusing more on rather what you didn't do yet or where you don't have, like cultivating that thing that's right in front of you. And that speaks to what you just said. It's just the visual of it for me works where I'm like sowing some soil. I'm like, okay, it's right in front of me. I'm able to, I can't like focus on the soil that lives in the future. I can just like kind of work on the soil that's, around my roots now. But yeah, I mean, and also too, what we do, I think came as a beautiful surprise, in a way. Like, I think we had an idea of our lives and it's different, but the same and beautiful and how it's come about. So just knowing that like our souls made a contract a long time ago. And I feel like my soul is like it is the twisty, turny road. It is the mystery and the dance of it all. It's not, and I think that is really true for a lot of people, but it's hard to accept that because that means there's maybe a not guaranteed check in the mail every other week, or there's not a guaranteed, love, relationship, marriage, kids, all the things. So just like knowing that like your soul knows and everything's okay, and you sign that soul contract and you're so taken care of if you choose to get quiet enough to listen, get quiet, or or to see it. There are little things around you all the time that are working in your favor.
Yeah. And I mean, it's all about perspective. That's your job. So, I think nowadays with my future, it's less about me trying to control the outcome of my future, but more my responsibility to focus on my perspective, my perspective of my life as it is now and my day that as it is now. It is my job to find the good. It is my job to find the connection to source and the beautiful little moments where I'm like, oh, I am being divinely guided. I am being supported. I am lucky, and lucky as like a relative term, like we're all technically lucky. We can be lucky. So finding those opportunities where you're like, oh, I'm on a winning streak.
Yes.
This is amazing. This is awesome is really like my goal now rather than focusing on whatever goals, quote unquote, I have, because with how quickly we're evolving, I think we've talked about this before, that as a society, as a culture, as a human race on this planet, the things that are going to be happening in our future have never been done before and we have no context for. So it's really like not worth my time, I think of personally, to really focus on how things are going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we get asked a lot, like, so what's the future of almost 30? And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know, man. Here's my Venmo.
I don't know, woman.
Honestly. Yeah, I don't know, woman.
Yeah, I don't know.
Write me a check.
And it kind of feels good to say, I don't know. I don't know why.
I like it too.
I'm liking it more and more because before I'd be insecure, but I'm like, I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Because we're just so proud of what has happened so far. So I can only assume that some good stuff's going to keep happening.
And like, sign an NDA, bitch. Like, you want to know what's in our future? Let me send you over an NDA.
Yeah.
And you can sign it up. And then I'll tell you. I'm keeping this private.
Oh, shoot. So if anyone relates, let's talk about it.
So
Join
basically we're trying to say
Facebook.
life is short, but it's also very long.
And live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh,
and
love.
be here now.
Peace out, Goyles. Does your mom say Goyles?
Of course she does.
Does every mom say Goyles?
Of course she
Why?
does.
My mom would be like,
Or no, she says,
hello, Goyles.
my mom says, my mom says, Gillies. She goes, how's my little Gillies?
Ask me a little, like gillies.
No, like just girlies,
Like
but
girlies.
Gillies.
Gillies.
What
All
the
right,
hell?
boys and Goyles. Is that a Midwest thing? Let me know. At me. This is a time
Holy.
you can at me. At me. Let me know if it's a Midwest thing.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So this one is this is an amazing episode.
Yeah.
I had a blast talking to Julie. I feel so comfortable with her. I feel so proud to introduce you guys to her if you do not know her already. I love, how crisp she is. I love how smart she is. And she's just really dedicated to her craft. And I admire her and all that she does.
Yeah. So she interviewed us for this episode. So we were sharing the episode that she shared on her podcast, the Influencer Podcast. So we just had a blast and we just wanted to share with you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes,
I just really think that this conversation was valuable in some of the insights that Lindsay and I shared, because Julie brought out those specific parts of us that we wouldn't have been able to bring out. So you'll learn more about us, our journey, our process before this, how we think about what we're doing now, the term influencer. And Julie is just such a great conversationalist. So there's just parts, within the conversation that we really enjoyed.
Yeah, you can find out more about Julie at Julie Solomon, SOLOMON.net. She has her Influencer Academy, Pitch It Perfect, and of course the Influencer Podcast. So check it out.
Yes. And come join us in Nashville on Wednesday, September 18th. We are having an event with Julie and it is going to be amazing. So you can buy tickets on almost30podcast.com/tour. We would love to see you there.
Can't wait. All right, enjoy this one. We'll see you on the other side.
See you soon.
You all know we are snackaholics, whether we are in the studio, on the road, in our beds. We just love snacks. And we're super obsessed with Perfect Bars right now. They are delicious. You don't have to sacrifice taste when it comes to eating well. And they're great to fill you up. They really satiate you. This is a fresh from the fridge protein bar that is made with freshly ground nut butter, up to 17 grams of whole food protein, and 20 superfoods, all combined to create a cookie dough-like texture. I mean, say cookie dough, and I am in. It's nutritious, delicious. They have flavors like dark chocolate peanut butter, almond butter, coconut peanut butter, which is one of my favorites, and my newest favorite, it's vegan, the almond coconut. So try it out. These are gluten-free, soy-free, non-GMO, kosher, low GI, and made in the US of A. We'd love for you to try Perfect Bars and let us know what your favorite flavor is and when you're eating them. So we have a 15% off discount for our listeners, Almost 30 Nation. Go to perfectbar.com/almost30. That's perfectbar.com/almost30 to get 15% off your order. perfectbar.com/almost30.
Hey, lady.
Hi,
Hello.
How are you?
I am so good. And
We've been having a good old day.
We have had a good old day. So I've gotten to speak to you guys today for your amazing podcast. And then here we are for the Influencer podcast.
Nice and cozy.
Yeah.
It's cozy.
Chilling.
Cozy. I know.
I love your podcast.
Thank you.
What's up, Influencer Nation?
What?
What's up?
And I love that we're doing this in person because it just
Me
brings
too.
like
Of course.
a new vibe, which is fun.
It's so refreshing. I love that you just sat on the ground when you got here.
I know.
I like
love
a girl that
that.
sits on the ground. I sit on the ground always.
Yep.
It's
I'm just going to sit here like
grounded.
before.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of my audience knows you both because a lot of them are also your audience, which is amazing. But if they don't know, tell them what's up.
Tell them what's up. We are Almost 30 podcast. I'm Krista Williams and my partner is Lindsay Simsick. And we started Almost 30 about 2.5 years ago when Lindsay and I were going through, the chaos of your late 20s or early 30s, and you feel really lost and you feel really alone and you feel like you don't know what you want to do with your life or who you want to be or who you want to be with or what you should be doing. You don't know about finances, all of these things we just felt like we didn't know anything about. And we felt like no one taught us. And we felt like in school, we didn't learn anything that the real world needed or, needed for us to know. So when Lindsay and I met through, some fate circumstances, we just were like, could we have a conversation that's broader, that is more inclusive, that brings in others, that also educates ourselves? I've been obsessed with podcasting for years. I've loved it for 6+ years, and I've just loved the medium. So when I proposed to Lindsay that we do a podcast, she was down. And, 2.5 years later, we've built it to a community all over the world. We have events all over the world. We have an ambassador program that has about 42 cities that have their own conscious, heart-centered events in their cities where they do volunteer, workshops, or they have book club. And then we do speaking engagements at, events that are a fit. But Almost 30 has just really grown into, a community of people and women that are seekers and that dream big.
I want to dive into a lot of that stuff. So first, I want to hear about your journey in your 20s before you were 30. What would have been the one thing that you needed to hear in your 20s that you didn't, that might have catapulted you to like this idea of knowing that like there's a space here that like we need to show up and serve?
I guess I a lot of things, but the one that sticks out is just like that. I would tell myself that, like, I spent a lot of time just questioning what I felt, and I think there was just a lot of people who were kind of questioning themselves and questioning me. So it was just kind of a natural thing that I picked up. And I was always like, quote unquote, not sure and looking for others to kind of validate my next move when like truly all along I've known, you know, and like for us women, we're super intuitive. And so to like really listen, and we discussed this before, where it's like getting quiet enough to just like hear what your heart wants or what your gut is saying is so vital to every move we make. You know, we can't move too quickly because I think, or just make moves according to others, because then we find ourselves just doing things, you know, out of the heart center, right? And then we have to like travel back to, and then that's painful, you know? So if I'm always kind of coming from that heart-centered place, then I know that I can really trust the process, even if it's challenging, even if it's hard, you know, because I know I'm just coming from that heart-centered place.
Why do you think it's so hard for women who are predominantly our listeners to come from that place? What do you think kind of, is it a resistance or is it an outward kind of approval thing? What do you think from your own experiences?
I mean, I think being heart-centered to a lot of people means being like weak or vulnerable or too emotional. And I think that's just specific to anyone's circumstances, how they grew up. So some people do grow up being super heart-centered and emotional and like sharing vulnerably. But some people grow up being told that like, don't share that, keep that to yourself, figure it out, you know, don't cry, whatever it is. So I think for women, you know, especially in this day and age, I'm thinking about like women our age who are in either like corporate America or even just as entrepreneurs, like there's a lot of like masculine energy in business. And so like we almost feel like we can't lead from that heart-centered place because like that won't get us ahead. And so like I'm hoping that, you know, the way we do business, and because we've just seen other women do it too, you know, so we're kind of just a part of the chain that is hopefully reacting to change how business is run. I do think there are really great masculine parts of business that need to be in place, but then it's like there is a softness that needs to happen in order for like the creativity to come through and for like the humanness of a business to lead rather than just like the statistics and the numbers and the money, you know?
I think too, like when I think about, you know, our community and our listeners, you know, both of ours, and not being able to lead from their heart, and things that I've experienced through my life that I'm now aware of, but still struggle with, is even just the physical environment that we put our hearts in. It's the, you know, we're always hunched over looking at our phones. We're always hunched over at our computers. There is EMFs from all of that. That really messes with your energetic field. You know, if we think about ourselves as energy, we have these things, Wi-Fi routers, EMF, that are always in constant communication with our beautiful electric body that is made of electricity and electrons. There's the pollution, there's the food. You know, if you're eating a poor diet and you are not treating your body very well, you are going to be thinking about how tired you are, how, you know, anxious you are, how depressed you are. And it's really hard to connect with your heart when your body is in survival mode. So a lot of, you know, the practices that people do, if you were to just get up, have coffee, you know, have some sort of type of breakfast that maybe spiked your blood sugar, you go to your office, you don't like your job, you know, you're sitting in a cube, you haven't walked around, your heart isn't going to want to be open because it's not really safe. If you're doing a job that you hate, you're not treating your body well, and you're not prioritizing yourself. So, I mean, it's a very, having an open heart space is one of the most beautiful things, but it's also scary because when it's open, you're going to feel. And so for a lot of women, to have it be open and to feel is dangerous. If you are doing something you hate, you are in a job that you hate, and you are going to let yourself feel, it gives me chills. It's going to be terrifying and it's going to hurt. So getting yourself out of situations that are potentially keeping your heart to be closed are very, very important to allow it to open and blossom when you're ready.
Oh, this just got me thinking about something. When we aren't open in our hearts, we go to our brains. And I think a lot of time thinking can be just as addictive to a person as drinking is to an alcoholic.
100.
Mm-hmm. So I would love to get your thoughts on that, because what I hear you both saying is that, and I know that we're going to get to community cultivation in a bit. But what's coming up for me is that the reason why you guys have been so incredibly successful at community cultivation is because you come from this heart-centered place. And it's more about leading with your heart and less with your brain and your ego and your thinking. Can you share a little bit about just what you've experienced with that idea of thinking as being like this detrimental addiction at times and kind of shutting your heart down?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a struggle. I mean, we struggle with it every day. So I do think the awareness that like your mind is there is like, it is, part of it and half of it. I guess lately it's really been about identifying the thought, really seeing it for what it is, and deciding whether I'm going to believe it or not. You know what I mean? Because so many of my thoughts that I have are not really rooted in truth. It's just rooted in either a fear I have or a doubt or, whatever it is. And so I have a choice to believe it. And I think a lot about, because we've been doing like energy work for a while now and in Reiki and really like the pathway. So it's when the mind is overthinking, like it is affecting what's above and below it, right? So like I'm unable to connect to source if I'm so in my head and overthinking. There is a block there. If my heart is closed, I know that probably there's something having to do also with like me speaking my truth in my throat chakra. Like there's just like a lot of things happening there. And there's like a million different combinations that could affect it. But yeah, it's a constant struggle. But I think the awareness and the ability to get quiet to kind of listen and see it for what it really is super valuable for me. And I can imagine for women who are overthinking, but we don't give ourselves that time because like Krista said, it is kind of scary. It's like, wait, I've been thinking that thought for like ever. Like I've believed that about myself forever. Like what? And like, where does that come from? And then you have to dive deep. Like all of this is work. You know what I mean? And I think, I'm realizing that now, like in therapy and just doing different things where I'm like, oh, like this is really hard work. Like sometimes I'm in therapy and I'm like, I don't want to really be here right now because it's actually annoying to do this work right now.
Yeah, and I think that the thinking is the masculine. The thinking is the wanting to do and, always having something on your to-do list, et cetera. And then the heart-centeredness is the feminine. So, we do have a heart-centered business and we are lucky that the content and the community and the experiences that the podcast has provided us allows me to be open-hearted because I am very much in my masculine a lot in the business because I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with I'm not a perfectionist, but getting things done the right way and all of these things. So, for me, it's like I will mostly be in my masculine. And then when I'm around our community, they help me slip into my feminine because they help me allow and they help me be present and they help me believe and they help me to just see that no matter what else happens with Almost 30, this is enough. Having one girl be impacted by a message that we shared or a guest shared is enough. But it's a struggle. And I think a lot of women, nowadays really do work with this and really do have to do the dance, very regularly.
That's so good.
What's up, Almost 30 Nation? I am just so grateful. Our community has been just so great in communicating with us about the products that we promote and love and how they are incorporating them into their lives. And I'm talking to Ryan today about how the Calm app has really enhanced her routine, has helped her to sleep. And Ryan, I would just love to know your experience with the Calm app.
Yeah, so I've been using Calm for the past couple of years, and it's something I go to when I'm having some anxiety during the day or really just need a moment to wind down. It's definitely a huge part of my nighttime routine. So what I love to do right now is do yoga, and I go through the Calm app, and I pick out some of their like music meditations or sleep meditations They have some really calming sounds that I'll use pretty often. And then in the morning, I like to use some of their guided meditations. I like that there's a bunch of different time frames that you can pick from depending on how much time you have that day, and just so many different options to utilize that it never gets boring, kind of listening to the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge part of my meditation process lately.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's super customizable. So if you only have like a short period of time, or if you're struggling with sleep or really want to enhance your meditation, it's just so perfect. And I'm sure, like, have you found that meditation has helped you actually calm down at the end of the day to sleep as well?
Yeah, 100%. I just turn the lights off, maybe light a candle, and I pick from one of the things that they have on there. I also like that they have like little scenery things you can kind of watch too if you don't want to close your eyes. And it's really helped with my sleep and just kind of bringing me down from like a stressful day.
Yeah, so the Calm app has soundscapes and over 100 sleep stories now narrated by soothing voices and meditation music, however you'd like to use it. It's really for anyone and everyone, whether you're an experienced meditator or not, or someone who is having trouble falling asleep or just wants to enhance their nighttime routine. So we really recommend Calm for anyone. Calm.com/almost30 to download the app now. So that's calm.com/almost30 and you'll get 25% off a Calm premium subscription. So one more time, calm.com/almost30 and you'll get 25% off. Thanks so much, Rye.
Thanks.
For those of you out there that are hopeful that you will have children and you are also at the same time pursuing your career and traveling and living your life and all that life has to offer right now and are in no rush, awesome, good for you. But our biology hasn't changed. So why not learn more about our own fertility so that we can plan our timeline? We need more tools like this to help plan out our families on our own terms instead of rushing into things. And so modern fertility is a great tool. For the first time, we can actually visualize our timelines. So with a doctor and clinical data, you can understand whether that scenario is possible. This tool synthesizes clinical data and a physician-reviewed interpretation to bring you averages that can give you a baseline for time to conception and menopause. The tool also helps you understand how your hormones can give you a window into your fertility. We recently had the founder of Modern Fertility, Afton Vetchery, on the podcast, so listen to that one for more information. But for our listeners, you can get $20 off at modernfertility.com/almost30. So that's modernfertility.com/almost30 for $20 off. modernfertility.com/almost30 for $20 off. And join our secret Facebook group. We're in there ready to answer questions and talk all about it.
If someone was listening right now and they relate to that, and and I think that as a lot of influencers listen to this, and a lot of solopreneurs, a lot of people who, they either work from home or they have a full-time job, but it's kind of like they're doing this alone. What would be your recommendation for someone who may be listening and they're like, that's me. I'm the woman that gets into my head. I'm the woman that's always thinking. I'm the one that is so loyal to that story and so loyal to that way of thinking that I'm terrified to feel anything else. What would be your advice or your recommendation for that woman who has a hard time surrendering to that trust?
I think what's really helped me is to, when I am able to slip into my feminine, like finding ways that do that for me, whether it's like dance, singing, taking care of myself, taking a bath, like just putting on like a really feminine outfit and like wearing that for the day, which is not my MO normally, just the allowing, the receiving too. Like sometimes I think as women, we find it hard to receive because we're give. And it really is like a softening to be able to receive what people want to give you, whether it's love or things or opportunities or compliments. Just being able to take it in rather than just give, push, out, you know? But yeah, I think just practical things are like dancing. Like maybe it's just like a really ooey gooey night to yourself and you draw a bath and you're like writing. Maybe you watch a movie that just kind of puts you in that, like just little things that are, you know, everyone can do. And you might think it's weird, you know, like this is going to slip me into my feminine, but just like watch. I think over time, like you'll see the difference. You'll see the dance, and you can't beat yourself up when you are in your super masculine because there's a purpose there too. You know what I mean? Like when we're in our masculine and we're doing our business thing, that's purposeful. It's pushing the business forward. But then when we're able to really receive, it's like, oh, we can take in all that we've worked on and like really receive it and be like, oh my God, like this has changed our lives and it's changed other people's lives.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like thinking about having gratitude to the masculine. So it's not like, you know, being like, oh, this is bad. Like this is a bad part of me. And I've never thought about that really until now, because there's always, 100%, there's always a percentage of masculine and feminine happening at one time within you. But even honoring and thanking the masculine for the hard work that, the masculine part of you, for the hard work that it's brought you to this place where we are doing so much. Women are doing things that we would have never dreamed. I am doing something I would have never dreamed, a lot in thanks to my masculine, helping me work 3 jobs at one time to build almost 30 with Lindsay. But another thing is, in addition to that, is I would think about monitoring your thoughts. And I talked about this the other day, but when you have that thought, when you're like, oh shoot, I do realize that I'm thinking too much. And I have this story where I believe that I can't have what I want unless I'm working 14 hours a day, unless I'm slaving away, unless I'm killing myself. Then the monitoring of your thoughts and the recognition of that thought as something that could be detrimental to you because you are ignoring a part of you, which is your feminine, is really important. And I think when people think about, okay, I'm going to go from being in my masculine all the time to being completely feminine and juicy, ooey gooey, it seems hard. So to just first look at what your thoughts are telling you and then kind of go from there to think about shifting them and kind of retraining your brain to allow more than to just go from like 0 to 100.
And I just wanted to add, like, I think too, like and I just am speaking from my own experience, hoping that someone would relate, but it's like our dreams for ourselves, I think we cut ourselves kind of short or don't dream as big as we could because we're either afraid to shine too bright and it might make other people feel bad or insecure or uncomfortable. So it's like, I think the feminine is kind of this dreaming big and just being a little like, it's like fantastical in a way. It's like, go there. Why not? You know what I mean? I think the masculine kind of like stops you at a point where it's like illogical. And the feminine is able to just like, oh my God, that's possible. It is possible. But like, we kind of don't let ourselves go there because then it's like, oh no, I have to like do it. Or I'm capable of that. And that's a lot to hold as well.
It's bringing up so much for me because I remember recently I was talking to my girlfriend, Liz Ryder, about this. And she was telling me, she was like, I was letting her know just about like things that I've been feeling. And she's like, well, you're feeling this way because you've been so locked into your masculine energy, which has been great because it served you so well with business and da-da-da-da. But like you're having a hard time connecting with the feminine side. And when she said that, it was like someone was speaking Mandarin to me because I was like, you're so right. And I've been so disconnected. Like, I don't even know how to do that. And I was like, and she was like, you need to take a bath at night with some Epsom salt. I was like, that's it? She was like, yeah. Just literally like start small, just take a bath. And I was like, okay, I shall take a bath at night with Epsom salt. It was just like,
you like wrote it down on your to-do list. You're like, got it.
Yes.
Epsom salt. Yeah, you're like, just order it on Amazon.
Yep. Thank you. And done. And like, here comes the masculine coming.
You're like, to order all about me. The calendar invite says bath time.
and it was just so funny to me that it's like, we can get so lost into that ego, that masculine, that doing, that all of those things that we lose sight of just the essence that makes us so like beautiful and amazing. And it's something as little as like putting lipstick on.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Just easy. So thank you for that. I think it's fantastic. I love that. Okay, so I want to talk about community cultivation. You guys have a fantastic community. I know you touched on it a little bit, ambassadors, and you do a fantastic podcast tour that I want to talk about. But I want to know, I kind of get the sense of like why you wanted to do it, right? We just kind of went into that, but I want to know how you guys brought this all about and how this community cultivated. I know that it probably ended up kind of taking off itself at a point, but I would love to know the journey through that.
Yeah, I think and I don't know if this was on ours or when we were talking with you, but when we talked about the vulnerability thing and you talked about, not being attached to the outcome when you're being vulnerable. So you're going to be coming from an intentional place and you're going to do the thing without worrying about the outcome. To be completely honest, Lindsay and I, for the first year or so, didn't think about community cultivation necessarily. We were so far in it. We were just really trying to get, our content out, keep our heads on straight. And then when we started to host events, I think the first event we did was a meditation at my friend Erica's house. And we had a bunch of girls together and we really just wanted to meet and connect with more women. And then we did a free SoulCycle ride. And when we realized that there were women that were like us, that were listening, that were connecting on parts of our stories that we were very vulnerable about, it kind of clicked. And we created the secret Facebook group where people just started to share. I mean, when Lindsay and I are sharing on the podcast, it's just us in a room. So that's what it feels like. So when we are sharing vulnerably about things that are very, very near and dear to our hearts, people kind of see that and they see us as someone that they can possibly share to. So then they share within the community. And now it's been something that, we are here to serve the community. We are here to serve the people that listen and that connect with one another and that support one another and that support the causes that we're aligned to and support the brands that we're aligned to. And it's become it just runs itself really. They support one another without us. I don't have to ever worry if they're going to be to the mission and values of Almost 30 because they live it. They've helped us create our mission and values. And it's been the most beautiful thing and most reassuring thing to know about humanity, really, as part of the experience in creating the community.
I loved what you said about they helped you create the mission and values because to me, because I could see someone being like, okay, but like, how did you get the audience to be so invested? How did you, how do they treat it like it's theirs? And it's like, because they feel like it's theirs. I mean, I think that is such a huge thing. And I hope that people really listen to that, is that the more that you really tap into your audience and what they're, just remembering that there's another human being on the other end of whatever it is that you're creating with their own shit and thoughts and feelings and challenges and insecurities and joys and all of those things and really aligning with that. I mean, I think that is so huge.
I think a lot of times with like influencers and solopreneurs or people that have an Instagram audience, it's like, so you have 100,000 followers or whatever, and it just looks like 100K on your phone. You never think about 100,000 people in a room that are engaging with, that are interacting with, that are seeing your posts, that are seeing your stories. And when you think about it more on that small level of if you made an impact and you changed one person in that 100,000 room, that's what really matters, not like the 100K number on there. So I think when people think about talking to their audience or talking to the people that follow them, it's almost like they wait until they have a certain amount where they communicate with them. And I think that people don't feel like they have the right to talk to their audience if they have 5,000 or something and be like, hey, why do you guys follow me? Like, why are you here? Like, why do you listen to Almost 30? Tell us what you want more of. Tell us what you want less of. And you do have to be unafraid to show up and hear what they say and hear what people say. But for the most part, people are so supportive and kind and people want to be heard. People want to share their voice and share their insight and help you create. And, one of the most important things is having people along for our journey. Having people see Lindsay and I make the first couple episodes with a wacky intro that are so goofy. And then on our closet floors for 7 months doing this, working full-time jobs doing this, and then building it now and being open about what's hard about what we do and being open about what we love. So keeping them along for the ride so they can see themselves in us is also really important.
Yeah.
What is hard about what you do?
I think it's just like the expansion of it all is like as much as it is rewarding and incredibly satisfying, it's also painful. It's like quite literally expanding like our idea of ourselves, of the entity of almost 30. You know, it's like a child. So like as you see them grow, it's like I'm so proud, but I'm also like I'm uncomfortable. Like, is this the best thing for it? Is this the best thing for our community? You know, so that's why it's so important. You know, I'm so grateful that we have the community because I think about them, we think about them with basically every decision that we make. You know what I mean? Every big decision. And now, you know, because we have more eyes on us and more listeners or more whatever, now we're getting, you know, these quote unquote bigger opportunities and, you know, people want a part of it, you know, in a way. And now we're having to decide whether that is something we want to do, like join a network or whatever. And, you know, it's, you know, we're grateful for it, but at the same time, like we really feel like the way we are doing this is going to set a new standard for women in podcasting. You know, like and you know this, like podcasting is in its infancy. Podcasting is kind of like being run by like men who were in radio for like however many years, you know? And so they're like kind of slapping the radio thing on podcasting. And it just doesn't feel quite right to us. It's working for some podcasters and it's amazing. But for us, and for you too, you're just so much more than a podcast. And so like, how can we stay true and aligned to what we believe, to our mission and visions for this, but also, you know, progress and expand in a way that will eventually just touch and reach more and more people, you know? So to do that has been challenging. You know, it's a lot of conversations between Krista and I, and it's also, you know, reminded us that like our relationship is, you know, of utmost importance. You know, we are friends first. And so if that relationship is really healthy and we're able to communicate and be honest and just really support each other, we've always been like that. But I think, you know, when a business is involved, it gets complicated, you know? So, you know, we do that really well. And so I just feel really lucky because we have these conversations that are hard and then we can come together and just be like, okay, like what are our hearts telling us, you know?
What has been that navigation of that intentionality? And, you know, you can be as specific or broad as you want, because I just think I find this question very interesting, that you both have done a really intentional job of making sure that you keep the content and the podcasts and the guests really true to yourself. Like you were mentioning, you're not part of a podcast network. You don't do ads that you don't believe in. You don't work with companies and brands that you don't believe in. How has that journey been for you? And really, I think I'm asking you, you know, how were you able to stay intentional? Was it certain questions that you would ask yourself and each other? Or was it just an idea of how you perceived this mission that you had and really what the audience wanted? And then how has that grown throughout your journey with the content, the guests that you have on, et cetera?
So for the brands and the sponsors that we have, I mean, we have over 60 sponsors that we work with regularly that are brands that we love. And one of the things that I think really allowed us to be intentional was the fact that we were working full-time for 2 years doing this. And because we had that income and it took the pressure off the business, we could be intentional. We could be like, you know, of course we want the money, you know, want money all the time, but like, we were able to choose like, this isn't a good fit and we don't need that money. You know, I've been at a place where I wasn't working full time and I was just blogging and I was tempted to take brand deals, and I probably did take brand deals that probably weren't that much of a fit for me, but I wanted the money. So I think that is really, really helpful to take the pressure off. You know, Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this, taking the pressure off of your passion, even if you want it to turn into a business, so that you're not taking brand deals that are unintentional. You know, we've taken things that maybe now we're like, yeah, that's kind of whack, but it worked at the time. And we've just fine-tuned it. So it doesn't mean you have to be perfect out of the gate, and you don't have to be, you know, working with your number one brand that you love so much from the beginning, whatever that brand may be, but just kind of fine tuning each time and checking in and being like, okay, is this still a fit for me? Is this still a fit for my audience? Does this feel good? And then from our guest perspective, that's really like a intuition thing. You know, we are very particular, and it's an email may catch our eye, and we'll listen to that and be like, okay, you know, this pitch I actually read this pitch. It was something that I saw, or we meet a lot of people at events. And a lot of times we put feelers out, you know, we're like, okay, we've had a lot of spiritual episodes lately. We kind of need to lighten it up. We need to have something that hits on X, Y, and Z, and we'll go from there. But that's happened really naturally. And that, I think, is very, very important to us as far as staying true to who we are, is making sure that our content and the guests are expected in a way where you know that they'll align to us, but then unexpected. And they will be people that you maybe have never heard of, and you maybe have never heard from, but that's what makes us different.
I love what you just mentioned about it's people that you may have never heard of, because I was just talking about this, and I would love to know if it's the same for you guys. But if you looked at the top 20 episodes of the Influencer Podcast, and of course you take in things like recency effect, right? Like obviously the podcast is more popular today than it was in its inception, but you kind of equate for that. The majority of our most popular podcasts are with guests that for the most part, the listener probably had never heard of before. It's not like this celebrity or this like big name. And a lot of times,
true for us too.
So true.
Yeah. I was wondering that, because I think a lot of times what I hear from people is like, well, I want to start this, or I want to do that, or I would love to start a podcast, but I don't know anyone. I don't have anyone I can interview. I don't live in LA and know all of these cool people. And I just always kind of want to go and say, yeah, but my most popular episodes are by people. They just have really good stories, and good content travels. I would love to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, we feel exactly the same way. Like a good story is everything. And
our number one downloaded episode, we're like, what?
Yeah, true. I kind of forget. You could tell me.
I'll tell you later. It's literally not. It's not crazy at all. But it's just.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
like,
want to
okay.
have our guests compare. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, because what we found is that our listeners just want to see themselves in other people. And it doesn't mean like, you know, they're just like Joe Schmo off the street, but it's like these people live their lives intentionally, have gone through, you know, really challenging times, or are up against, you know, a really, you know, strong paradigm that they are trying to disrupt in a peaceful way that, you know, is shifting. Like we are in a time on this planet that is like sometimes I'm like, how am I living during this time? Meaning like, it's cool. Like there's just like major shifts, you know, happening socially, politically, you know, and I just like, I feel very lucky, and we're looking for people who kind of are a part of those transitions and those shifts. And, you know, anyone who can, you know, we're just so grateful that people feel comfortable enough to share openly and honestly about what they've been through and what they're going through now, and how they persevered and really created a life for themselves that is fulfilling and purposeful. But yeah, it ranges. I mean, but what's so nice about like these big names, and, you know, we talk about it all the time, that like, I don't know what I thought of them before, right? But I always think like, well, they have like, you know, a full calendar every single day, and they have an assistant, and they have a publicist, and they have this and that, and they're very important as they are. But they come and sit down with us, you know, in our apartment studio situation, right? And it's like they're so present, you know, and like that's what I remember most about them, that they're just so present with us for that hour and a half, and so willing to share and connect and listen. You know, like most of them do not come with an agenda. It's just they're willing to share.
I think too, like to the point of, you know, people that aren't in LA or aren't connected to people that they could have on their podcast or whatever. I see it as it's my job to make everyone interesting. And everyone is interesting. You know, if you really get down to it and you ask them the right questions and you make them feel comfortable and you come with an intention to get a certain story or to have them share their story, like you're a good podcast host if you are able to do a good interview. And that's the thing, is if you are stopping yourself with the belief that you are not in LA or in New York or connected to these people that you could have on your podcast that are a big name, then you're never going to succeed, because I'm obsessed with the craft. I'm obsessed with the making of the product. I'm obsessed with the process of creating a podcast, of the questions, of thinking creatively and curiously about someone's story. And that's what has been like my greatest love about it, you know? So it shouldn't be about the name. It's really about your personality and your curiosity, asking the questions to make it interesting.
I know you all loved our episode with Dr. Josh Axe. He is the co-founder of Ancient Nutrition. And at Ancient Nutrition, their mission is to restore health, strength, and vitality by providing history's healthiest whole food nutrients to the modern world. They create products leveraging the wisdom and principles from Ayurveda and traditional Chinese herbalism that have survived generations, and they marry them with current research to provide supplements that are rooted in tradition. I've been fascinated lately by Chinese medicine. I've been visiting my acupuncturist, and although I've been using Ancient Nutrition, she actually recommended even more from this trusted brand. And when she recommends things, I listen. So I needed a women's multi in my routine. So I take the Ancient Nutrition Women's Fermented Multi. This is vegetarian-friendly formulation featuring real food, sprouted and fermented ingredients, probiotic fermented vitamins, and enzyme-activated minerals, and at least 100% DV of 6 key nutrients. So I'm really loving this. I take this every single day. And I also love the Ancient Omegas, which features a special combination of organic plant and wild ocean omega fatty acids. And it combines the best of ancient wisdom with the modern technology Ancient Omegas. These feature a special combination of organic plant and wild ocean omega fatty acids. And they have the proper balance of omega-3s, 6s, and 9s, along with antioxidant oils that can take your health, honestly, to the next level. This is great for healthy eye function, exercise performance, healthy response to oxidative stress, a healthy immune system, and so much more. AncientNutrition.com is such an incredible resource for all things health, wellness, beauty, gut, joints, energy, sleep. Truly, there are so many resources, articles, recipes, supplements, products that will truly take your health to the next level. So visit ancientnutrition.com and you can use our code almost30 for 20% off your first order. That's ancientnutrition.com. The code is almost30 for 20% off your first order. Since Kopari Beauty came into my life, my skin all over my body has been so much happier. Their products start with 100% organic coconut oil and is made with the purest intentions. You always know your beauty is safe with Kopari, truly. I love during the summer when my skin is a little bit drier, I love to use their coconut crush scrub in the shower to exfoliate. And then I use the coconut body oil. You cannot go wrong. My skin is always super moisturized, supple, and just smells delicious. I also love their Starry Eye Balm. So I use this on the like the highlight part of my cheek. What do you call that? And then on my brow bone. Anywhere and everywhere, I want a little kiss of highlight, of dewiness. It's so, so pretty. This hydrating and awakening coconut eye balm delivers a dose of caffeine to help depuff, illuminate, and refresh your tired eyes as well. So you have it all at Kopari for your body, skin, personal care, travel kits. I love their toothpaste. You know I love their deodorant. It's my fave. And if you're traveling, they have travel kits for you. I just got the It's Personal travel kit, which had the coconut oil pullers, the toothpaste, an actual bamboo toothbrush, my favorite deodorant, all the things in a travel size, which I love. So go to koparibeauty.com/almost30, and that'll take you to a page where you will get a code for 20% off. So that's koparibeauty.com/almost30 for 20% off.
That's so good. And it's, I think that it's true with any piece of content, really. I mean, that's
Yes.
what the ones that really stand out, it comes from that place of like being curious, like authentically like interested in what someone else has to say.
Yes.
What has surprised you the most about this journey? And specifically, I want to, with your podcasting tour, because I find it fascinating. I mean, anyone can do a podcast tour, but anyone can't do a podcast tour as successfully and intentional as you both have been able to do. So what has surprised you, I think, the most about this journey when it comes to connecting with your audience in person and one-on-one?
I think the thing that surprised me the most is like, you know, when we show up to these cities that we've never been to before, right? You know, we never really know what it's going to be like. Last year, like the tour completely sold out in every city that we went to. But more than that, it's just like when we get there, not only do these girls feel like they're our friends, but to like be a witness to them so quickly connecting with each other and then continuing that connection, whether it's helping one another with their businesses, whether it's, you know, doing girls' nights, you know, being a part of the ambassador program and doing the events, like this idea that like they don't need us, you know what I mean? It's like a weird thing where like, I guess we started this, we did, and our relationship and the way we, you know, have conversations on the podcast and our brand and everything, like kind of set the standard for, you know, the conversations and relationships they have. But then like they go and they do, you know what I mean? Like, it's just and they always like, you know, message us and send us pictures from like, yeah, we met up as a group. Like, it was amazing. Like, we met at your event, you know, but from there, you know, I don't know. It's a very beautiful thing that like I never expected would happen. I never expected that I would be a part of, you know, like my relationship with women has like completely transformed since starting the podcast.
It's a very community-driven podcast. Yeah. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about the upcoming tour. Where are you going to be? What's happening?
Well, so we were on tour last year. We did 15 cities, I think. This year, we're going to go international. So we're going to Melbourne and Sydney and London. And then we will be in Philly, New York, Chicago, San Fran. We'll be ending in LA with a big theater show. We have Austin, Nashville, Miami, Denver, DC. And I think that might be it. But we're going to have that launch in, you know, a few weeks' time. And that will have all the information. And each of those events will be a unique, curated experience that we will have our ambassadors be a part of. So they're going to help us connect with brands that are in the local communities that we can highlight. And it's just going to be awesome. I mean, Lindsay and I, you know, are very lucky to be in the place where we can hold space and set the intention for women to connect. And like Lindsay said, they can do it. So it's really just us having the container. You know, of course, they're excited to see us and meet us, but it's more us creating the container for them to go off and have their own communities where they are and connect with people that they love where they are. So it's been the most beautiful process. It is so much work. People think doing one event is hard. Try doing 15 events in cities you've never been to. Coordinating with sponsors. Like, me and Lindsay busted our ass last year. I thought I was going to die when we had our last event in Vancouver. I was like, yo, I never want to do this again. I'm like,
here you are.
I'm literally sweating. And I'm like, I'm never ready fully because we have to put everything together. I'm like moving flowers around. I'm like worried about the music. But then we see people and we're like, oh, I would do this over 100 times, 100 billion times.
Yeah. It was chock full of learning for sure. And that's with anyone out there that's like doing something for the first time, whether it's events, whatever it is, it's like, it's so painful because like there is so much learning happening. And it's like keeping track of like what you're learning and how to do it better next time is a little bit overwhelming. I think the number one thing for us is like we've expanded the team. So like, you know, we're able to, you know, distribute responsibility so that like we're not, you know, sweaty and half ready when people are walking in the door. You know, we'll always be hands-on, but I mean, we learned a lot.
One, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
You know,
And we want to be the best for them when they walk in,
Right.
you know what I mean? And just really grounded.
Yeah, we don't be
and
worried
peaceful.
about the sound system. And
right.
then we're
And
like,
you
the
shouldn't
sound's
have
not
to be.
Yeah.
like, you, no.
100%.
Well, we also paid our dues. It's like we did it.
We did it. Right. And now you don't have to
we're good.
anymore. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of learning and that process, I would love to talk tactical for a moment. You guys are great at this. I mean, you've built a podcast from the ground up, literally with nothing but a dream and some mics. You have done a podcast tour. If somebody wants to learn this process from you both, is there a way to do that? And if so, how?
You're a little genius.
You're a little plugger.
Yeah, a little plugger.
Publicist.
Yes, honestly. So Lindsay and I had so many people asking us how to start a podcast, how to grow a podcast. When we started, they were big, but definitely not as big as they are now. They are huge right now. They're having a moment and we are loving it because it's a medium that I am obsessed with. And so I created an ebook a while ago, probably like a year ago, maybe longer, for people that wanted, you know, here's basically the tools you need, the technical, how to put it on iTunes, tips for when you're launching, marketing it, branding it, monetizing it, all of that. So the ebook had everything in there. And then we realized that wasn't enough. And the missing component was a community part with a course. And the missing component was everything else that we were using. So the media kit for pitching sponsors, the pitch templates to pitch sponsors, the Instagram templates for our stories. And as a last thing on that, when Lindsay and I were starting, there was no resources. There was no resources available. We made it all up. We did it all up on our own. So we wanted to create like a hub, a place where if people wanted to create a podcast or wanted to grow their podcast or wanted to monetize their podcast, they could find everything that we've used. So on yourpodcastpro.com, that's YOUR, podcastpro.com, we have everything there. The ebook and then the templates, and then the course is going to be a digital offering available in the next couple months. So people could buy that and go through that at their leisure to learn more about launching and doing a podcast.
Amazing. I love that. What do you think is the biggest, I guess I want to say, because I know we've talked a little bit about challenges, but what is the biggest obstacle when it comes to creating a podcast strategy, if you will, and then sharing that with the consumers who want to consume it? And where I'm going with this is I'm thinking, because when you said like we didn't know anything, I remember that as well. I remember starting a podcast and thinking like, I guess what I'm Googling is stuff that like a bunch of dudes from like the Radio Land in 1997 like put on Google, and this is all I have.
Yeah.
So is there a little bit of like an education piece that has to happen, or anything there that you think in order for the audience to know like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. I can show up to this. I can invest in this, and I'm going to learn what I need to know and be able to run with it.
That's a good point, you know, because I think that people see podcasting and because it's just talking, that people have an assumption that it isn't as much work. And I don't think Lindsay and I are necessarily good examples of how much work it is, because I think, or I am not, because I'm not putting in a normal amount of work. Like what I'm doing is not necessarily what someone else should be doing. And I think everyone else has their own work capacity or work style, but podcasting is a lot more work than people think. So I would really have a think about how you would fit this into your workflow now. And I think when Lindsay and I started, we recorded for 5 months without releasing anything. So this really helped us to understand how much we could do, what it would be like. And we just didn't have pressure on it. So it's like, if you're like, okay, I want to launch in 3 weeks and I want to do this, then you might not give yourself the opportunity to build it and then launch it and then have it grow. You might like already lose steam because you've been busting your ass for 3 weeks and you're not seeing the outcome. And that's the second piece, is not being attached to the outcome. So, Almost 30 is bigger than anything I could have ever dreamed, but I didn't have an attachment to what it was going to be. Every time a brand deal came in or something came in, I was so grateful, but I was never like, okay, I want it to be making X amount, which I am now, but I never had an attachment to the outcome at that point until recently, when we're really thinking strategically about the business. So I allowed it to grow as naturally as it could have been.
And two, just being like, this is a creative process, right? And like, you do, like Krista said, just kind of have to like allow for the time to let it form, and the idea will evolve. Just know that like, if you're starting a podcast, it is going to change over time. So like, if you're waiting for it to be exactly what you want it to be, I'd say like, don't wait any longer. Just start to produce content. Doesn't mean you have to release right away, but at least like saying it out loud, having these conversations. Because I do think there's an energetic something that happens when you start to do, right? And like, then you're getting kind of this energy feedback that's like, oh, that felt like that felt really good, or that didn't feel good. That wouldn't normally happen if it was just in your head. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I could think about shit all day long, but until I'm podcasting it or I'm singing it, am I like, oh my God, that's really good, right? Like, so I do think, playing, like just being playful about it, especially in the beginning, is super, super important to producing something that is unique to you. Because I think, and what we've seen is like, a lot of people just look to other podcasts and be like, okay, I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do it that way. Two hosts, we're going to talk about this. They talk about that. You know what I mean? Which is fine. Listen, we're all copiers of something at some point.
Formulas are good.
You know what I mean? It's great.
Yeah.
I love a formula. Mm-hmm. But I do think you kind of need to make room for like, okay, so like, this is coming from me. Like, what is unique about me? And what is unique about what I believe in and my points of view that I can bring to the podcast and kind of shake it up a little bit? Because I think then people will be like, well, yeah, I listened to so-and-so and like, they're kind of like them, but she has like a little bit of an edge and she kind of brings this to it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being like, well, yeah, all these podcasts are kind of the same and I kind of dabble in all of them, right? Like, just to have that uniqueness, I think is important.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you touched on just kind of the misconceptions a little bit about it, that it's just talking. I guess there are some podcasts maybe that just talk.
Some definitely do. Like, and that's amazing. If you are a talent, you walk into a network, they help you.
They do everything for you and you get to sit down.
Friends that do that.
Yep,
Totally. It's amazing.
And it's awesome.
Totally.
But
I like
this
to
is
like
a business.
make life hard.
Well, and this is your business.
Yeah.
It's like and I think that's another interesting thing with podcasting right now. And we see it more in podcasting than we ever saw it in blogging, but you kind of have two sides. You have people like us who, this is a part of our business. This is our business. This is our brand, and then you have talent that are just like doing it now because it's fun and it's exciting. And maybe they love it just as much as we do, but it's just like this other thing for talent to do. And so I think that there needs to also be a distinction as well for people listening, is like, if you want a podcast just to say that you're a podcaster, then you don't really want a podcast. Like, if you want to be a podcaster, then sit down and start doing it. It's kind of like people who are like, I want to be a writer. It's like, well, do you want to be a writer or you just want to be known for being a writer?
I just trust too that like, people who are just doing it to say that they're a podcaster, that it like won't last. That people won't really, I think they'll listen to it because they're like, oh, I want to see so-and-so from The Bachelor talk, or listen to him talk, right?
Right.
Which is great. But I just don't know, unless they're doing it different, which I haven't seen yet.
Right.
That it's not going to have much sticking power.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, good on them. And like, that's great because I think everyone should do what they want and express themselves how they want. But I just don't know if the passion isn't there, if it's going to last. This space is like growing by the day and you're going to get lost, you know, if you don't have that fire.
For sure. And I think that's just a great reminder of that. Let's talk about what's to come this year. What are you guys most excited for? I mean, obviously the tour, you have the program, which is just so genius. It's like there's not one. So yay.
Yeah.
Now there is.
We're the Julie Solomon of podcasting.
As you should be. It's so amazing. I'm so excited for it. What else for you guys?
Just our team, you know, so we have Kayla, who's our first full-time. We have Chloe, who's part-time. We have Shara, who's part-time, and we have Tiffany, who's part-time. So just figuring out and like working within this community of women that are all focused on the same mission and that are all different and that have all different skill sets and that have all different feelings and that have all different goals and that have all different ideas and emotions is just such an interesting and beautiful thing that we're really working with. So for me, it's like really figuring out how to be better, you know, for every conversation and be more thoughtful and just be a better manager and a better leader, you know, for the team is really exciting to me. And then, you know, to see where things grow and change. And especially with your Podcast Pro, like I like lose sleep over it. I just want to like work on it and I want to get it out into the world. And I just feel so passionately about podcasting as a medium and I want to help as many people as I can. So I know that we have something there and I really am excited to like fully put the digital offering out into the world.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, all of those things. And I'm excited to like just continue to do things differently within this space, you know, as a team. Like we're just, you know, we're having these really exciting, some conversations and then really hard conversations. And I'm just excited to do it different and inspire other people to like stick to their guns, do it different, follow their heart, like, you know, listen to their gut instinct and just like always remember that, you know, because we're doing it and, you know, we haven't fallen off track in that way. But that doesn't mean we're not tempted sometimes like by shiny objects and numbers and dollar signs, right? So it's like always remembering how we want to, I don't know, like the impact we want to make, you know, it's like, what do we leave? Like, you know, yes, of course the money is a part of it, but it's like, we don't want to sell out. We don't want to, you know, just be under someone else's umbrella and like make them a lot of money. Granted, it will always happen. We'll have collaborations and we want people to rise with us too. Like that is super important to us in our partnerships, but there's just, I think we're going to be doing it differently. So just committing to that.
I love that. Okay, before we wrap this up, I got to know a couple of more things. When you started this, you were almost 30. Now that you're 30, what have you learned?
That, you know, for me, I just I was here all along, you know, in the whole journey. Even when I was little, I was like home for Christmas or something. I was looking at these little things I wrote to my mom and it was like about aliens. Like I was literally like, if there's aliens here, I hope they're okay. And all this stuff. And like, just thinking about myself throughout the years, like I was always there, but I never really acknowledged or honored that. You know, I was always trying to fit into some box or, you know, be a certain way for a certain type of person and, you know, whatever that was. But I just am so thankful that I finally have like found and recognized myself, like the person within me, not the, you know, blogger, not the girl working in corporate, not the girlfriend, not the whatever. It's like, I finally have me.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's amazing. Powerful.
I've just been like, I think I've learned to just be really, really patient and kind to myself. And, you know, this is a completely new thing that I'm doing. And the business part of it, especially, is so new to me. And just, you know, I'm so grateful that Krista has that background so I can really learn from her in that way. But throughout the process, knowing that I'm going to make mistakes and that like, you know, I'm going to have some awkward times and just being really so much kinder to myself than I have been, like, you know, in my early 20s, when it was always about like, I had to change and I had to get better. And, you know, just being compassionate for that girl, you know, always. Because there's always just a part of us that is working from like a fear or trauma when we're, you know, that happened when we're little. And it's like, okay, like, you know, sitting her down and just being like, everything's okay. Like, you know, you can trust like the way you're feeling, things like that. Just being a bit more, and I talked about this on another podcast, but it's like mothering yourself in that way, like just filling any needs or voids and being able to slow down enough to be like, okay, what do you really need? How do you feel? You know, how can we like make you feel better?
Mm. What does influence mean to you?
I guess taking your gifts and honoring the gifts that you've been given by source, God, universe, whatever, and showing them off, you know, and like letting people know that it's okay to acknowledge those and be grateful for those. And others will in turn, you know, be inspired to honor their gifts too. But then it's also living in a community where we recognize that we are part of a community and we're all part of something and we're all here. And each connection and each interaction with someone could be more meaningful than, you know, I think we give it credit.
Yeah, I think it is that interconnectedness, like knowing that if you consider yourself an influencer, and everyone can be, whether you're on the internet or not, but it's like knowing that like, it's like a loop of energy. It's not just like an output. It's like, okay, so when I put that out there, I'm receiving this and they're receiving this and giving, you know what I mean? Like just kind of recognizing both sides of what is happening when you quote unquote influence people, you know, and being aware of that. And I think, you know, you see a lot of like famous influencers now, celebrities mainly, where it's like, I don't know if they're really realizing that there's like a 10-year-old on the other side of the screen and being like, I'm going to dress like them or I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's a little petty, but you know, the example is just highlighting that like, we need to be aware of like who our audience is and who's listening, you know, because they could also influence our content. Like they are influencers too. It's like both sides are influencers.
Yes.
Ooh, that's great. I love that. Both sides.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is. It's that exchange of energy.
Totally.
Yes.
Okay, so where can everyone find you and stalk you and buy your amazing podcast program and meet you on tour? Where can they get all that information?
iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Almost 30 Podcast. Basically, wherever podcasts you can find podcasts. Almost 30 Podcast website. You can find anything about tour, all of that information. And then yourpodcastpro.com. That's YOUR, podcastpro.com. You can find resources for podcasters if you're new or if you're seasoned. And then Almost 30 Podcasts on Instagram. We're pretty active on Instagram. And then I'm 100 blog, HUNDRED blog on Instagram.
And I'm at Lindsay Simcik, Lindsay with an EYSIMCIK. And we also just launched our Almost 30 Nation Instagram.
Good one.
So we have like our the ambassador program. We're highlighting ambassadors and the meetups and just, you know, creating another touch point for our community to get to know others that they could connect with, meet up with. And then our secret Facebook group on Facebook, Secret Almost 30 Podcast group, is, you know, just a place, I think, like a highlight for me on the internet where, you know, I don't really go on the internet a ton when it comes to like, as opposed to what I used to do. And I usually go to our Facebook group first. We're having really funny, insightful, supportive conversations in there. So
I love Facebook groups.
are they the best?
Yeah.
Bomb.
I love giving Facebook all the personal information about my life through a Facebook group.
So then I can target you with my ads.
Honestly.
Truth. 100.
100.
Oh, ladies, thank you so
We
much.
love
for
you.
coming on. We love you. I love
You're
you so
amazing.
much. This has been great. So obviously, if you're listening, you know the drill. Please screenshot this episode, share it on Instagram stories, tag me, tag them, and let us know your biggest takeaway or aha from today's episode, because you know that we love to see those screenshots. We're going to write you back. We're going to share those on our stories too. So can't wait.
Love that.
Can't wait. Love y'all.
Thank you.
Love y'all, Mina. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much to Julie for having us on her podcast and for allowing us to share it on ours.
Yeah,
So
this
great.
was such a blast. And then just make sure if you are in Nashville, you are attending our event with Julie on the 18th of September. It's going to be awesome and I cannot wait. And then the other event we want to highlight is with another female badass who I see as a similar lady, is with Nicole Lapin. So she is the best-selling author of Rich Bitch, Boss Bitch, and she also wrote Becoming Superwoman. So everyone that attends the event on Thursday, September 12th at the Riveter in West Los Angeles will get a copy of her book. And we're going to go through all the ways that she has become Superwoman. So that one is going to be a blast.
Yeah, and you can visit almost30podcast.com for all of our other tour dates. We are touring until the end of the year pretty intensely. So odds are we will be in a city near you and we'd love to meet you. But thank you so much for listening and supporting Almost 30. We love you so much.
We love you so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye.